One. Yo, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Big Mike in the building. Swish for real. I got my boy Wild Dogs in the house. Wild Dog, what's up with you, man?
Hey, brother Big Mike. Hey, so happy to be here. Thank you for the invite, and always, happy to come through. It looks like it's you and me right now, but we've been here and done this before. You know what I'm saying? So,
Absolutely. It's always good, man, to have the host on, the co-host doing the thing. Oh, snap, my light messing up with me. But
yeah.
we good.
Hey,
Hey, it's
so
good to see you, man.
if we
How
get
was your week?
somebody else to jump in, that's all good. But if not, we got it. We got y'all covered. All right, don't worry about it. We got y'all covered.
Salute, man. And it's been amazing. We've been growing and growing and growing. And I appreciate y'all for y'all liking and subscribing. The likes kicks the algorithm out there, man. And we've been growing, man. I appreciate y'all. Salute all y'all for watching, subscribing, and giving us y'all feedbacks on these videos, man. Man, thank y'all. It's a blessing, man. I appreciate each and every one of y'all, man. So we want to give y'all good content, always good content, and we're gonna keep that going, man. Other than that, man, how was your week, man? How things going your end of the world?
Oh man, other than some red tape, I'm good. Had a I usually have my dinner with my son on Thursdays, but we went to his school spring concert. So you had the band, the choir, and musical theater. So I was like, that was like the culture infusion of culture I needed. Every now and then I'm like, man, I need some culture, man. Let's go to the Irving Art Center or something, man. We need to go, check out an orchestra, a symphony, or something, man. I get a little itch if I haven't, got a little cultural infusion. So that was really good. I had a really good time, and I didn't embarrass him too much. I embarrassed him some, and then by the end of the night, it was like we was cool. So but I'm a dad. I'm a dad, so I'm in dad mode. So if so if I know you, especially, I'm man to man. Hey, young man, have a conversation. Or when somebody gave me, like, I don't want to say a girly handshake, but an inappropriate handshake for a text. I automatically, without thinking, corrected them and gave them proper instruction on how to give a proper handshake. And basically, my son was like, that went viral amongst all this.
Nothing wrong with it, man.
The young man was sitting down to shake my hand, and then it was kind of marshmallowy, and I like, did a, the thumb grip, and then pulled him up, and then, took my sunglasses off and taught him how to give a proper handshake, and then kept it, and it went viral. He was like, Dad, I was like, what did I do now, man? What did I do wrong? He goes, no, Dad, you're okay. But it's just, dang, why'd you have to lift him up? And I'm like, hey, he was sitting. You don't sit on him, man.
I got all these right here. Get up here and give me a handshake.
I was like, I got one good arm, one good leg, and that was enough to get him, you know what I'm saying? Get him up. Yeah.
Now, if you guys don't know, Wild Dog and Boogie Ball's not here tonight, so he's taking the night off from the podcast. If you have not been watching a lot of these episodes, Wild Dog and Boogie Ball love to go to WNBA games. And this year, we've got Paige Bueckers as a Dallas Wing. As you can see, the hat he has on is a Dallas Wing hat. He's representing. So she's been hooping like since college, and she's been really, really good. And winning the national championship, I believe, has gotten her pushed out to the stratosphere as one of those next players who can rival Caitlin Clark. And as we pull out more Dallas Wings memorabilia. Now, the question is, can she or will she, if depending on her performance, can she win Rookie of the Year for the Dallas Wings and the WNBA as a whole? What do you think, Will Doc? Can she do it, and what would make it to that possibility come to fruition for Paige Bueckers?
Hey, Big Mike, she is far and beyond the front runner. It's like last year we kind of had some discussion, until until Angel Reese got injured. At least we could have a discussion. And then once Angel Reese got injured, it's like, oh yeah, it's not even nothing to talk about. It's Caitlin Clark. So, but this year there's a huge gap between Paige, and anybody else. Not that anybody else won't make a splash. I'm looking for some young ladies making a splash and maybe elevating their game now that they're in the show. But Paige by far is the front runner. I believe the key. Well, you can say it with anybody, but the key for Paige's career, and then for her to go ahead and claim the Rookie of the Year like she really should, is health.
Yeah, health is going to be the key factor as far as her playing. When she played for UConn, it was like, this girl really can hoop, though. If you had to compare her, and we're just going to X out Caitlin Clark from this, because I know Caitlin Clark's in her own zone. Who would you compare Paige Bueckers to if you had the opportunity to give that comparisons?
Oh, man, she's kind of a hybrid, man. She's kind of a hybrid. It's kind of like, because she can play small, but then she has the size to, to do some things. So, man, I had to give more thought to that because, I don't know. I don't want to drop some names. I'm thinking of some Hall of Famers, like if what are my two favorites? Hey, if you put my two Sherrills, Cheryl Miller and Cheryl Swoops had a baby, it could be Paige, but yeah. But that's kind of going on the deep end. It's like, wow, dog, you need to check your temperature. When's the last time you seen a doctor or something? But but she really is a hybrid. So I feel like she's special, and again, she can play small, defend small, play big, and defend big. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. Like, nobody currently, in my opinion, I would basically have to call on some Hall of Famers because that's her. I would project her to be a future Hall of Famer.
And they're saying that her competition as far as Rookie of the Year would be Dominique Malonga. She was selected by Seattle Storm as the number 2 pick, and she's 19 years old, standing at 6'6". She's a center for them. So can she probably rival Paige as far as getting that Rookie of the Year?
Anything is possible, but again, at a center forward position, it's hard enough for guards, but you're gonna be 6'6" down there trying to bang and hold your own. The curve is a bit more. It's going to be a bit more of an issue. So about time, her game comes around, Paige would have already been putting up so many numbers, and been closing out so many games. That's the difference with Paige having the ball in her hands and being able to close out games. The impression upon the voters is going to be really strong.
How far do you think Paige can take the Dallas Wings this year?
That I'm not sure, because I felt like all this time I just felt like Enrique just needed a look. She just needs some help. She just needs some help. And there's games that even we would be ahead and we just couldn't close it out, and Enrique would just be completely exhausted. Completely exhausted, trying to just the last 3 to 5 minutes just trying to take over the game, and it's like she just needs a little bit of help. And I think about the year before last, how well we did. And I'm like, we're not that off. We had an off year, and we needed this draft pick, and so very, fortunate to get Paige. But I think we'll know more in mid-season. So potentially, I really think we could push well into the, challenging for the conference.
And they picked up some guards this year as far as the Dallas Wings go. They got 1, 2, 3, 4 guards out of the draft this year. You got one from Mississippi.
I'm missing one. My bad, folks. I'm being honest, at least.
Yeah, because you got Madison Scott out of Mississippi. They got her as guard forward. And
Right.
you got Azalea James out of North Carolina. And you got JJ Quinerly. She's out of West Virginia as a guard, too. So they guard heavy as far as the Dallas Wings go. Do you think that's going to be a problem for them to have that many guards? And because they're small as a team.
Oh, Mike, because we talked about it before. They have to have a proper foundation. When lately we've been talking about, point guards, who are the best point guards and best point guards of all time, and we've had debates about the difference between ball handlers and facilitators, right? So the fact that they've had issues with their, they have a good offense, but having issues with it stalling and not being a finish strong last year, especially on games, it's like Enrique needs help. She's a ball handler, but you shouldn't require her necessarily to be a facilitator all the time, 24/7. And even the same thing with Paige. Yes, Paige is a ball handler. She can facilitate, but when it comes down, but to demand that, for the entire course of the game and then to finish strong over the course of a season, I think this is a good play.
Yeah, and I miss one guard too, and she's out of Japan. And Miyami Yamamoto, she is 5'5". I'm not quite sure if she's going to be, serviceable for us what we got. But I can't believe as far as Dallas Wings go are so guard heavy. What is the reason by that? I don't know what the coach is thinking. What are your thoughts on them being so guard heavy?
They just got to fix it, brother. They have to have facilitators and people that are going to move the ball to free up the shooting guards. If you got so much demand on your shooters to bring up the ball and facilitate the offense, it's just shown to be too much. It really has just shown to be too much. And so in order to be able to finish strong, you have to have people you can rely on to be able to, bring up the ball, facilitate a bit, and have your shooting guards to be able to move, have a bit more movement in the offense instead of having one person, or even if we got Paige, two people, like Luka and Kyrie doing all the ball handling and facilitating, and then everybody else is watching TV. So it's a stagnant, offense. And then also bringing that many guards, be honest, you don't know who's going to be hit or miss, And then with certain matchups, you don't know, you have to be able to have some flexibility in your matchups, And if somebody's cold one game, you have to have somebody who's going to be able to secure the ball, completely secure the ball in the last 3 minutes to close out their games.
Now, looking at the head coach, Chris Kochklanis, forgive me if I tortured his name.
Hey, you better than me, dog. I'm just gonna be honest. You better than me, dog.
Yeah, he's out of USC, and he I don't think he had a head coaching position, but he was a assistant head coach at USC, and I'm not saying he's deserving of the position with the Dallas Wings. Do you think he was an assistant at USC. Yes. Can he take the Dallas Wings further than the last coach did as far as what they did the season prior?
Man, I knew you was going to hit me with this. But again, like we talk about different times, right? And then like we talked about, you have coaches who are better at developmental coaches, right? Like if you starting to rebuild building a team, then you want this guy, right? And you've got coaches that are made to get you over the hump. You know what I'm saying, right? So I'm really counting on our new coach for his ability to connect with youth, connect with young ladies, and player development. All right. And then really be no nonsense when it comes to defense. Hold us to a higher standard and get us there. So, but as far as over the hump, like winning the conference, going to the finals, I'm not sure if I got confidence in that. and being able to connect with our young players, connect with Paige and young players coming in and hold us accountable on the defensive end. Oh, 100%. 100%.
Yeah, if he could push us to at least second round of the playoffs, that'd be an accomplishment in my opinion. Speaking of playoffs and awards, well, we didn't really discuss the awards yet. There's been a lot of awards given away for the NBA as far as the 2025 season. What are some of the surprises that speaking of like the awards out so far, you have Defensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, Sixth Man of the Year, Most Improved Player of the Year, Coach of the Year, Clutch Player of the Year, NBA Hustle Award, Teammate of the Year, Executive of the Year, Sportsmanship Award of the Year, and the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Social Justice Award of the Year. All these have been handed out, but we still haven't got the league MVP just yet. And this is Friday, Friday, May 9th. So if those who are see this at a later time, it's Friday, May 9th, and we still don't have an MVP yet. But the consensus said it's going to be SGA. But out of all those awards, and there's some I'm like, this is interesting that they got an award like that, especially the Hustle Award. That's interesting. Yeah. What surprised you as far as these players that were given these awards? Are they deserving, or is it just like, I'm surprised he got that?
Hey, what are your thoughts? Big Mike, I really wish we had done a bracket, or I wish we had done like a show about, at least among the finalists who we thought would actually win, because boy, I would have been batting like almost $1,000, So I'm really happy, man. Usually I am kind of like, oh man, well, why'd they go that route or this and that, or like, especially like Sixth Man of the Year, I'm like really, really like particular, you know what I mean? But this year, brother, I'm all smiles, So Sixth Man of the Year, give a shout out, to the Celtic. Richard. But I got I'm like, hey, that dude, man, from how he showed up, when it counted, in the playoffs and the finals, and what he's done this year, I was like, hey, I can't, my respect greatly exceeds my disdain, what I'm saying? For Peyton Pritchard. So I was like, yeah, I would have hated to see that man get robbed, because my respect for him and his game, and even for his team, is like is very good. And then of course early this year we had a lot of discussions about Defensive Player of the Year. Mm-hmm. I would say that's the second one I'm most particular about. But between all the injuries, right, and then guys being, I guess, let me say something friendly, like being inconsistent, right? It's like, you were playing who, and you did what, And so, that left it kind of really, in my opinion, wide open for Evan Mobley to come in and steal it, especially like after an All-Star weekend, and you want to talk about the last quarter of the season. I mean, he's just rolling, and being Mr. Consistent, and then being vocal. Mm-hmm. And you catch a game, it's like, oh, what's going on? What's he doing? I'm like, he just came through like he's supposed to, So those are two awards I'm really particular about, can be kind of anal about, And this year, I honestly have no complaints, And then the only thing I would say, like, and also with some of these awards, I'm kind of that dude that's like, spread the love, right? So certain awards, it's like, hey, best man gets to shine, right? It doesn't matter. But certain awards, I'm kind of like, this should kind of be like a once in a lifetime award, so you can spread the love, to other players, right? So almost even like let me be specific now, right? Like Teammate of the Year this year went to Steph Curry, right? So that's something I feel like should be, you win it once, and then we keep moving along, spreading the love, because you can't, to other people. And it's almost one like in that award, they kind of do a pretty good job of spreading it around for whatever
Yeah. Well,
reason.
so if Kyrie was healthy, do you think he would have actually got that award?
I think he would have definitely been a candidate with with everything going on and the way he was holding it down. I think he would have definitely been a candidate, a finalist. Excuse me. Yeah.
And
And
are
then
you surprised that Drew Holiday got 2 awards? He got the Sportsmanship Award and the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Social Justice Award.
yes. So that's what I was going to lead into next was like the Sportsmanship Award and the Social Justice Award, the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Social Justice Award.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, especially the Sportsmanship Award. Hey, spread some love with that. That should be, like a once in a lifetime award. You're a member of the group. You know what I'm saying? And then we spread the love. Because that's definitely an award that so many people should be recognized for. Whether they're old veterans sometimes, right, on their way out, or some younger cats, not freshmen or sophomores, but because I'm still on that. No freshmen or sophomores for a lot of these awards. If you're a 3-year veteran or more, okay, I'm like you're eligible. But I was kind of surprised, not that I don't respect Drew, and but that they end up doubling up with him for these awards. So I would have rather, him, especially what he's been doing, especially even with the move to Boston. I would have rather he gotten the Social Justice Award, perhaps this year, right? And then them follow up maybe next year or whenever to recognize him, for the Sportsmanship Award. But
and not to diminish the awards that they were receiving, but it seems like some of these awards are something that I would probably give my youth basketball team, but not an NBA player. But I get they're trying to make sure that we get an eye on what these guys accomplish and give them more awards and put more eyes on the NBA. But I still feel like a lot of these awards, especially Sportsmanship Award, Teammate of the Year Award, even the Clutch Player of the Year Award, all those sound like something that you would give to a youth basketball player.
Yeah, because it's kind of like it's almost like the Teammate of the Year, if I'm thinking correctly, was kind of like a spinoff from the Sportsmanship Award.
Mm-hmm.
But but sometimes when you think about it, if players are getting rubbed out of the Sportsmanship Award because of this, that, or the other, then eventually it's going to come to the point where staff and coaches voting are to be like, we need to recognize, we need to recognize this and this individual. You get rebuttals, you get appeals, you get complaints even. So that's how it happens. So you get, spinoffs from, the Sportsmanship Award. You got the Teammate of the Year Award. So you can recognize someone who's a, absolutely awesome teammate who may not necessarily be, necessarily fall under, great sportsmen, when they're a competitor, or they might be deemed a little dirty, or they might be deemed a little more physical, or things of that nature that might rub them out of the Sportsmanship Award. But they're such a great, amazing teammate, and known across the league as an amazing teammate, especially if they played for more than one team. You can get reputation, like Vince Carter, was known as an amazing, teammate. But because of his veracity and in your face, style, he may have, been rubbed out of the Sportsmanship Award. I'm just giving, a scenario here, right? Or even a Derrick Rose, a seasoned veteran moving to different teams, was known, man, he's such a great teammate. He's great in the community, this and that, and so that's where you kind of get, where the awards have expanded. It's kind of out of necessity, out of a calling from within the NBA through appeals, complaints, and so forth.
Now, if I had an opportunity, and we'll move on to the next subject, if I had an opportunity to pick the clutch player of the year, I don't know if I would pick Jalen Brunson. I'm thinking more of Trae Young. You know what I mean? Because Trae Young,
Yeah.
yeah, man, Trae been balling, man. And besides him, I would have picked SGA, but SGA is in the running for MVP. So I don't. I mean, they gave out multiple awards to what player in this particular award. So as far as the NBA goes, but I would have picked Trae Young first, and then probably SGA second, and then I love Jalen Brunson because he can hoop, but I would have probably picked him third. I don't see how he became such a clutch player to win an award. I need to look at the parameters of how these players selected and given these awards, and they'll probably give me more insight of why they selected him. But you know,
No, I would say he's definitely a finalist because it's not so much. I would say not necessarily. It's not always necessarily the quantity,
mhm,
right, of clutch plays, but the timeliness and impact of those clutch plays. Does that make sense?
mhm,
So, so, so a lot of the clutch plays that that I'm thinking of, or that they even highlighted were such impactful, and timely clutch plays. Now there's players that have more, but then is it like if you're already winning by double digits, right? You know, you're supposed to dribble the ball out, right? Or if you have a blowout at halftime, or if you got a blowout at the end of the game, right? You dribble it out. But if you happen to hit, you know, with 1.5 seconds left, a three, or launch it, across the court and it goes in, yes, that's technically a clutch shot, but what's the
mhm,
meaningfulness of it and the impact of it? And even with timeliness really lends more towards positioning yourself in your conference, and in your your division, and in your conference, and then the playoffs. So Jalen Brunson, I would really say, going back quite a few years, like even when he was with the Mavericks,
mhm,
he put himself under the radar. And then he kept himself under the radar, right? To the point where it's like, okay, this is the time in the year where I'm going to reward Jalen Brunson with my vote, even though this person is also deserving of this and that. But he's kept himself under the radar, got himself under the radar, kept himself there. And when I think of clutch players, I always think of Jalen Brunson at this point. It's time to reward him. So
mhm.
that comes into the factor too. Someone else could definitely be like, oh, he's more clutch. He should have the award for the year. But the dynamics of it's kind of like certain awards are going to be like MVP. You kind of have your MVP season, right? Right? And then you get rewarded. Then you're available for the award after that. You know? But
Mm.
why not get it? Why didn't he get it last year? So and so was better this year. But that's kind of the dynamics, with voters and everything. It's like you kind of really have to earn their attention, right? And then they'll look to give you their vote.
Yeah, very understandable.
Yeah.
Rick Carlisle has been coaching the Indiana Pacers this year, and this is his fourth season with them. But he's been there before.
Yeah.
1997 to the year 2000, he was an assistant coach for the Indiana Pacers, and from there, 2001, he went on to Detroit for 2 years, and they played very well. Then from Detroit, he went back to Indiana for another 4 years, and then he ended up in Dallas for 14 years, 13 years. He was in Dallas for 13 years, and he won
We
a
stole him.
championship.
Let's be honest. We stole him.
Yeah. In
Right?
2011, Rick Carlisle did the unthinkable for Dallas and helped us win a championship. His career is something of a marvel, man, being that he's a Boston Celtics alumni. He was drafted by Boston Celtics back in, I believe, 1984. So your thoughts on him, and what does he bring to Indiana as a coach? Is he somewhat of a genius in the way he goes about his business when it comes to coaching?
So I mentioned it earlier a little bit, right? So when it comes to Rick Carlisle, you were giving some history. Let me fill in a little bit. We have a Hall of Famer, Don Nelson, Big Don Nelson, right? Then we had a Coach of the Year, Avery Johnson, right? But we needed a coach to get us what? Over the hump. We had been to the lost, right?
So and then Avery Johnson did take us to the promised land, so no knock on Avery, but he
I know, but got us there. We needed players that we had to do something to get back and get us over the hump. Just getting back, yeah, that would have been great and fantastic, but we got that chip, and we know there's nothing like that. So whatever it took, right? We needed a coach to get us over the hump, right? So Rick Carlisle's really been, known for someone, really rock solid, very like kind of old school, hard nosed fundamentals, right? Like I was mentioning about our new wings head coach, someone that's gonna, hold you accountable on defense, right? But then being able to help you, start talking to you, help you see where your game needs to go. I think Halliburton within his own is making his turn as a young player, but I think it's really critical that Rick Carlisle has been showing him this is where you need to be. Hey, you're good now, right? But this is where you need to be headed. Okay, coach, and then this is how you get there. Okay, coach. Right? And so, man, big ups to Rick Carlisle, who I consider part of the like you said, he was, drafted by the Celtics. He won a chip with the Celtics, kind of coming off the bench. And then, I never, be dreaded like, okay, like we got to deal with this. I grew up a Sixers fan, so we got to deal with the Celtics. You look over the bench and you got Rick Carlisle and, dang, what's wrong with me? From the Blazers out of UCLA, the center. Come on, help me out.
Are you talking about Bill Walton?
Bill Walton. Yes. Thank you. So you look over in the bench, you got Bill Walton and Rick Carlisle chopping it up. You know what I'm saying? It was dreaded. I dreaded. Okay, so what? Okay, if Bird's going out, or dang, what's wrong with me? His name, the chess. Come on, help me out.
What's it?
The power forward center, white guy. I'm just saying
you're talking about Kevin McHale.
Kevin McHale. It's like when either one of them go out, it's like, well, you can't be happy about nothing. You can't get a break.
And you can't forget about Robert Parrish too.
Yeah, but I'm just saying. But when they were coming, when they were coming in, Bill Walton and Rick Carlisle sitting over, it's like I dreaded them, and they were bench players, and I dreaded them. So as a player, respect, and as a coach, huge respect for Rick Carlisle. And him holding true to his system, to himself, and on one hand, I'm like, I wish he had retired. He got a chip with the Mavericks. Just retired, dog, But he's an incredible coach, and that's his life's blood, and I'm happy for him. And please have respect for Rick Carlisle, because this is not by accident, A lot of times, we've seen organizations, like we're going to talk about an organization later. You get great players in, like, Halliburton, and you just fumbling, You get great players in, you have great organizations, and the coach is just clueless, on how to, communicate with them and then help move their, careers forward. It's like they come in great, but you have to develop. You got to continue to develop, because everybody else continue to develop. Everybody else continue to get better. And Rick Carlisle is on his game, and I'm so glad he's bearing fruit. And right now, what they're sitting up 2-0, and I'm just like, what's going on? Is this going to be a gentleman's suite? What's going on over there? So,
And they're at the the end of the first quarter. This is the score.
All right. But it's the
They got a
Cavs.
chance.
Like, what's going on? It's like this is not right. But Rick Carlisle is over there. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about seeding. He doesn't care about anything. But let's go in. Let's get to work. Let's play our game, and let's hold our heads up.
And it's crazy. I know I mentioned this before, but when I was coaching, I always call timeouts the way Rick Carlisle would call timeouts. You know what I mean? Yeah, I just kind of mimicked what he did a lot of the time.
It's just the timing, especially the playoffs. It's like you have to be a mad scientist when it comes to the playoffs.
Yeah.
And timing, the timeliness of everything. It's like, well, he missed 3 threes in the first quarter, but the last 3 he hit in the fourth quarter is the ones we really needed. It's like you can't trade a 3-pointer at the beginning of the game for a 3-pointer or even a 2 to win the game at the end. You know what I'm saying? Well, you get those points over here. It changed the whole dynamics of the game and being able to finish like a shark. So, man, so Rick Carlisle is man.
Do you consider him a genius in some aspect?
May he die in office.
Do you consider him a genius in some aspect?
Yes, he come from genius. I guess I didn't finish. I got caught up in the horror of seeing him and Bill Walton on the bench. It's like there's no break. But I consider him part of the Red Auerbach coaching tree.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're part of Red Auerbach coaching tree, you come from genius. And Casey Jones, also a Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's proof in the pudding, and what even Bird has been able to do, and what Danny Ainge has been able to do, and Kevin McHale has been doing. I mean, I'm just saying, the lineage there is like the genius is imposed upon you. All you got to do is absorb it. So if you absorb genius things from a genius, then you can effectively perform as a genius.
So our last topic of the day, and I hear my doorbell. Somebody's at my door. Answer in just a second. We want to talk about the New Orleans Pelicans, and they've been the Charlotte Hornets, and then they back to New Orleans. It's just been a mishmash of them traveling from one place to another, and you finally decide to stay back in New Orleans, and they changed the name to the Pelicans and let Charlotte keep the Hornets. So your thoughts on the legacy of this franchise? There's a lot of notable players that they had, and I have a whole list of players that I think that we could talk about, like Anthony Davis, Chris Paul, the hated David West when he did the Dirk. I hated that. And then currently Zion Williams. Kind of give me your thoughts on what you think these guys did as far as legacy wise. And I'm gonna chime out real quick, but give the audience your thoughts.
So when it comes to the Charlotte Hornets, I want to thank the Charlotte Hornets for giving us incredible swag, and some drama when it came to the NBA lottery. It's like again, and then for weeks, you would have like, they're not gonna do anything with it. How do they keep winning the lottery and they're not really gonna do anything with it? They don't need it, because they're gonna abuse it. But I want to thank the Charlotte Hornets for some incredible swag, like a starter jacket. I wanted it, you know what I'm saying, and for giving us incredible highlights for the Chris Pauls and Jamal Burns and Amika Okafers, and so it's just you can't help but just recognize the legacy of some of these players who are going to end up future Hall of Famers. So these future Hall of Famers, are going to be forever tied to the Charlotte Hornets and the New Orleans Pelicans. When it comes to the Pelicans, I'm just want to be thankful for the NBA and the city of New Orleans for again holding on to the franchise, to the team, because it's just too much drama and flip flopping from city to city, and then in the end, when we come full circle, you know, the city is deserving of a team. Then trying to regroup to try to get a team back to the city.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to do in Seattle, Seattle is deserving of a team, and the market, it looks like it's there. Their baseball team is doing fine. Their football team is doing fine. So for every sense of purposes, basketball team would be doing fine or even great there. And so it's just too much mess for me. I'd rather, we do what we have to do to keep, teams in their cities and then do expansion. So, and so with the NBA, with the time Commissioner Stern stepping in as the owner, the NBA acting as the owner of the organization, that's really epic, And then even now, I know I've joked about it, but I'm going to say it now while we're live, is Joe Dumars, in my opinion, is basically Commissioner Stern 2.0 with him going over to the New Orleans Pelicans. I've got that right?
Mm. Let me double check. I think he is there, but let me ask you this question though: do you think they will, if Joe Dumars is the executive for New Orleans, will he retain Willie Green as the head coach?
Not sure. I can't be with Joe coming in. That's going to be everybody's going to have to prove themselves that they're within the standard.
And you are right; he is part of that. I got him as a executive vice president of basketball operations.
I know I looked at and heard it, but I needed your help today already. I'm doing the best I can, but so I apologize to you and apologize to the audience. But yeah, I remember looking at that, and I was pretty sure, and I had it tied with looking at it. But yeah, that's going to be basically like a new phase, a new movement with the organization. So again, with somebody like Joe Dumars coming from the NBA organization to the team, there's a certain level of standard with quality, performance, character. I don't want to go on and on, but Joe Dumars is a very strong personality, a very quality leader, very personable. He's, very resourceful, right? So anything anyone needs, you'll have the resources, right? You'll have the leadership, right? So failure is on you. So
now, when you think of Chris Paul, do you consider
coach can't respond to Joe Dumars, he will be replaced.
Now, when you think of Chris Paul, and I'm going to ask you another NBA player that was part of that team as well, do you think of Chris Paul as a New Orleans Pelicans legacy player?
Yeah, when I think Chris Paul, it's in a flash, but I always think of Charlotte Hornets, New Orleans Pelicans. Like I was saying, he's a future Hall of Famer, and his legacy is tied to those teams. So those teams are always going to find some favor because of all the great drafts and lotteries they won and great picks they've had. Like I said, Anthony Davis is truly going to be a future Hall of Famer at some point. So again, his legacy is going to be tied back to the New Orleans Pelicans. So regardless of whatever, their legacy is as a team, it's always going to be continue to uplift it, because of the quality players they've had come through. Even Drew Holiday, in my opinion, if he stays his course, is going to be honored. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In the end, as someone special, not how we normally try to think of special in office, this and that, but the proof is in the pudding. He's here, win a chip. He's there, win a chip. You know what I'm saying? And when you think about great defensive players and Drew Holiday is always in this discussion of two-way players, the great defensive players, and that's not going to change. And even our Tyson Chandler, right?
Now, I was just about to mention him. I was
know,
going to ask you, what are your thoughts on him being the legacy player for
hey,
Charlotte? Because he actually from Chicago went to Charlotte and made an impact in Charlotte. So can he be considered a legacy player for the New Orleans Pelicans?
Yes, it's what I'm saying. It's like such great players that they've had come through is going to always maintain a level of respect for their legacy, regardless of whatever dysfunction, regardless of whether they've been able to get over the hump and win a chip or not. You know, it's solidified. All those lottery wins is kind of solid. It's like when you think lottery, when you think NBA lottery and NBA drafts, in the flash of your mind, you think New Orleans Pelicans, and you think I hope it goes to somebody else. So it's always going to be present when you think NBA. You think about prospects. You think about the NBA lottery. You think about all these legacy players, including I want to also mention Paige Bueckers, who won a chip with the Mavericks. Baron Davis. He was
a Hornet.
So even like with
Pelican.
Pelican.
There was a New Orleans Hornet.
And then when you think about the 3 J's, and Jamal Mashburn, if you're a Mavericks fan, then the Pelicans are going to come up. Or what is the Hornets? No, the Hornets,
Yeah.
But really it's one and the same. You're going to think Hornets. So, again, it's, even if you're like LeBron fan, Cavaliers fan, J.R. Smith, right? So you're thinking about champions like that. If you think about pedigree, Larry Nance Jr., right?
Yeah.
If you think about, great players who haven't won a chip, C.J. McCollum is currently on my list,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this question. Zion, with having Joe Dumars as the president of basketball operations, do you think he may make a move with getting Zion to somewhere else and that way they can further develop that team? Or do you think Zion is a standard as far as what them wanting to do in New Orleans and keeping players like him? Because I don't know if Zion's abilities have diminished much because he still can jump out the gym. But can you, at this point in Zion's career, it's been there for like 5 years now, do you think that they'll make a move with him just to get the team better future-wise, or will they continue to hold on to him?
I think for other teams it's too risque. And I think for the Pelicans, it would actually come out better if, like, the worst thing could happen is they make a move with Zion, and he's considered, because of his injury history, teams are going to want to put a low value on him when you go out to the market like that, right? Even though we got some positive about Zion and his game and how you could use him, right? And use him more effectively so he doesn't get a flat tire. He can really be a contributor, even someone that can come off the bench and get you off the hump. And you got to pay for that. It's the NBA. Competition is high. I don't want to pay somebody. Not everybody's a superstar. You have to have the others. And just because you're a superstar coming out of college and you might have been a number one on somebody else's team, in order to get another team off the hump, you might have to pull a Jason Terry and come off the bench. Even though you could start somewhere else. You should be starting on your own team, right? You go start somewhere else. But the best thing for your team and getting over the hump is for you to be 6th man of the year, right? Instead of a starter. So sometimes that's a scenario. So when it comes to Zion,
they're paying him too much money for him to come off the bench.
I hear you. And that's what I'm saying. And that's going to be the attitude, but it costs. If you look at these championship teams, right, and they have really solid benches, they have to pay for those benches. Sometimes they get lucky. Sometimes they get really good bargains. Sometimes they have young players that show up, right? But other times, even like our Mavericks, right, you have to go headhunting, right? You have to go bring in a Paige Bueckers out of retirement. Paige was retired, bro. I don't know if you want to know that. Oh, he was doing – I know. Paige was officially retired when Donnie talked to him and contacted him and convinced him to come back for one more year to help us get a shot to get over the hump. We need a Laker killer. Can you help us? We didn't bring Paige in for the regular season.
Yeah.
When we had injuries, he came up and he stepped up and he shined. And I'm like, now it's okay. We're healthy again. Paige needs to go back to the bench. Oh, he's balling. I said, we didn't bring him there for that. He gonna mess around and get hurt or something. We need him for the playoffs, right? Like the discussion we had about Klay Thompson, right? And then Boogie and I are in agreement. It's like, yeah, we brought him in to snap, but ideally, right? Klay is here for the playoffs. So we need to spare him all his wear and tear and minutes during the regular season, right? But the player's mentality, right? And it's sometimes the organization mentality, we're gonna pay you this money, you're gonna start, we're gonna get our money's worth. But that's not effective when you're trying to get over the hump to get deep in the playoffs and win a chip. You have to have others. You have to have a strong bench a lot of times. You have to pay for that.
So let me ask you this question. This will be my last question of the day. Would the New Orleans Pelicans consider what they did with Brandon Ingram as far as changing the whole dynamics of the team? Because you still got CJ McCollum. How many more players you think they need to get over the hump? And if they needed to bring in, because I know that Herb Williams has been phenomenal for them this season, this past season. What do they need to get over the hump? Because I think the guard position is where they really is struggling. Even though they got Jose Alvarado, I don't think that he's pretty much the guard that they need. He's good as far as playing off the bench for sure. He can give you energy, but what do they need as far as getting over the hump and getting out of that first round of the playoffs?
Thank you, Big Mike. You went ahead and went there. We have these discussions, so thank you for going ahead and going there with that. But, and I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but I don't have a problem doing that. Again, we have this debate going on this year about ball handlers versus facilitators. Okay, and a lot of NBA players, we even seen big men. Like now, we see big men. We see Joker bringing up the court. Even young Shaq at LSU, young Shaq at the Magic. Young Shaq bring it end to end, So, but ball handlers versus facilitators, and you see the glaring difference, and that's what their need is with a facilitator. And in my honest opinion, I don't care what size they are, right? Whether you consider them a center or forward, we're going back to the origins of positionless basketball. You need a facilitator. Have any qualms or limitations on what that facilitator looks like? Okay, whether you might consider him a point guard or a point center, you need a strong, gifted facilitator.
So, I mean, I get what you're saying though. I think for them, they definitely need a new guard for sure. They need to go ahead and let CJ McCollum go to a championship caliber team. I would say send him to the Lakers. Yeah, send him to the Lakers because the Lakers could definitely use him.
Hey, CJ, don't sleep. CJ can.
Yeah, boy, I believe it, but I think he's not going to prosper right now in New Orleans right now because there's too many things going on, change wise. And I think they're about to do some things to that team. I think Zion's moving. I think CJ may be next. And I think they're going to make some major changes. And I feel like CJ needs to be somewhere either Miami or LA or even freaking probably Phoenix,
Yeah, and then again, like, I'm glad you brought it up because that's another player where I was like, hey, if he's in the right situation, I feel like CJ is missing opportunity of being sixth man of the year. I'm like, it's like take ego out of it, right? And sometimes you just have to take finances out of it if you want to get over the hump and get a chip, right? So, but like, again, I'm real particular about sixth man of the year. I love sixth man of the year. My man, my dog, Lou Williams, perfect role. But Sweet Lou could have went and left and started, like most of the league, right? But his role in the locker room, his role in practice, his role with the squad was to hold down the bench, right? to make sure what you're getting off the bench is going to be quality at any given time. Whether it's injuries, okay, you need me to start, right? Or we need a little bit of offense, or you need me to try to lock somebody down. We're having problems with somebody. Well, let me come in and get in some minutes, put in some work, put in some work on him. He wasn't inconsistent. He was always consistent in whatever was needed of him, right? So when it comes to somebody like CJ McCollum, oh, he's this, he's that. It's like, no, the man has done what he as best he could and what he's been asked to do. You got to separate the two between what a player is capable of and what he's been asked to do. And I agree with you. CJ McCollum in the right situation, 6th man of the year, and could very well be the answer. Clutch, talking about clutch player of the year. He can come ice cold out of the freezer and bullseye.
Yeah.
Or come down and get physical and give you a smart foul to shut it down. We up by 3. We got a foul to give. Smart IQ.
Mm-hmm.
We're up by 3. Oh, you're inside the 3-point line. I'm gonna go ahead and foul you. Send you to the free throw line.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I've seen over the years. This is what I witnessed over the years. So that's CJ McCollum. But again, we're like, get away from New Orleans.
Got you, man. Got you.
We're trying to talk about New Orleans and Pelicans' legacy as a team, and the legacy is okay. Get in, get your rookie and sophomore year out of the way, and then after your rookie contract, get up out.
Nah, thanks.
Get up out of there.
Oh man.
But it's a new age. I said phase, but it's a new age with Joe Dumars coming. So, in some things is going to be shaken up that we won't see or hear it. Well, I'll hear about it, but the public won't necessarily see or hear about it, right? And then in some situations, you'll see some people kind of make a turn because Joe is that dude. And if not, well, don't let the door hit you on the butt on the way out.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Wild Dog, man. It's actually been a great show, man. It's dope conversating with you about basketball, and it's something that
my ice pack melted, but I held on, brother. I held on.
Salute to you, man. About to close out, man. So tell the people where they can find you at on the social media streets, man, so they can kind of look you up and give you a shout out and tell them how much they like you on this podcast, man.
Hey, I'm a YouTube fan. I'll be doing too much. I ain't got no cable. I keep my bills low. I'll be on YouTube, baby. Doing sports commentary. Sometimes even now a little bit of social commentary because, I'm old school now. I'm an elder, So you can find me on YouTube at Wild Dog 357. Again, that's YouTube at Wild DOGG 357, baby. Blessings.
Absolutely. And then, as always, at the description part of our podcast, you can always see a link to his social commentary as far as what YouTube goes. So check them out, guys.
If you come to my page, you're gonna see a link to Swish for Real, straight up, baby. Because I'm here.
And make sure y'all subscribe to Wild Dog's page, man, because he be saying some good stuff over there, man. I know he got quite a few things he could still talk about. So just give him a shout out, let him know that Sister Real sent you there, and let him know that you came, man. And for me, I'm always here on Swish for Real. We try to make it funky, make it happy, make you think about some things and give you some great commentary. Again, as we said at the beginning of the show, thank you guys for subscribing. Keep liking the videos, share them to as many people as you want to, and that just makes us even more popular. And we're going to get more guests on. We got another guest coming on next week, so you be on the lookout for that. And you can find me on X. And it's Lampkin McKell /poet/director. And just put in that name, you'll find me. I'll be posting all the YouTube stuff as far as Swish for Real goes on X. You can see me there. And if you want to just give me a shout out, just say I seen your podcast. And I just want to give you a shout out, man. We appreciate you guys for chiming in, watching the video. Again, like and subscribe. And over here on that side over there, up there where
right there.
Right there. That's Swish for real, guys. We appreciate y'all. Wild Dog giving you weekend back. Have a good one. Salute y'all.
See y'all in the comment section, baby. See y'all in the comment section.
Peace.
That's it, Pray.